It's Wednesdays with Wade. San Antonio Brahmas head coach Wade Phillips joins the Blitz every Wednesday for an inside look at your San Antonio Brahmas. Now, here's the Blitz with Wade Phillips.
It is the Blitz here on 94.1, a San Antonio sports star. He's Joe Reinagel. I'm Jason Minix. Now joined on the Buyers Barricades guest line by Wade Phillips, head coach of the 4-1 San Antonio Brahmas. Coach, how's your Wednesday?
Yeah, good. We're doing well.
Good win the other day, although I got to say, we had a high sack goal for your defense last week. They almost got there with sacks and tackle for losses. So do you call that a goal accomplished?
Yeah, I thought they played really well. I mean, we really dominated the line of scrimmage. They couldn't run the ball on us at all. So, that was a big part of the game. Us being able to run the ball and them not being able to.
You know, Wade, when you look at that ball game, though, it looked like you guys were in control in the first quarter, but they would never go away. They just kept coming back, and it turned into a dogfight in a lot of ways, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we had a 10-point victory, which is really high in this league. But yeah, it was a close game. I mean, they lost their last 3 games about 10 points total. So they had been playing pretty well. Their record didn't show it, but they've been playing well going into our game.
Is that one of those, even though Arlington doesn't have a win on the year, you look at a play here, play there, they're better than what their record shows, one of those kind of stories?
Well, their quarterback's leading the league in passing, so yeah, I'd say so. I mean, they had played good on defense before. We scored 25 points on them, though, and certainly that was a big part of the game was the run game.
You know, Wade, in all honesty, you're halfway through the season, and you guys are 4-1, a terrific start to the season. Obviously, a lot of work left to do, but you've got to be thrilled, I would think, with the way your team has come together and not only playing good football, but you're playing well enough to get these wins, which certainly isn't easy.
No, it's not easy, but we've come together well. I think we complement each other. I think really our offensive line looked really strong, because we've had guys hurt and 3 starters out on injured reserve. But our offensive line that we put together looked really strong this last week, and then our defensive line looked really strong. So, that's a real positive for you. If you can win the line of scrimmage, that's a big start. That's a big part of winning, and we've done that.
Wade Phillips, head coach of the San Antonio Brahmas, joining us here on the Blitz for Wednesdays with Wade. And you mentioned the injuries on the offensive line and playing with guys that were backups that got put into the starting role, and certainly they stepped up. The way you guys were able to run the ball against Arlington, was that part of the game plan going in based on what you had seen in scouting Arlington, that if you were going to win that game, it was probably better to do it on the run, even with some backup offensive linemen getting some starts?
Well, actually, they played all right against the running game, but we felt like we could run the ball with them. But we would love it, and then we've added Ellison. We've got 2 big, strong, fast backs that you need to run the ball with, and so we just made up our minds that hey, we've got to start running more with these guys, because they can pound the other team. Plus, they can break up for long gains also, which we saw in that game.
You know, Wade, what's incredible to me, and I mean this in all sincerity, 4-1, and you've done that with just a ton of injuries. I mean, you guys have had some bad luck when it comes to injuries, but you're overcoming that, and the guys that you're plugging in are stepping up and doing what they have to do.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, most teams, if you lose your starting quarterback, you don't win many games after that. So, Dormady's won 2 in a row, and that's what you look at as a quarterback. I know he had a couple of interceptions, but you still got to play well enough to win, and he's done that. And like I say, we scored 25 points in the game, so our defense can hold them under 25 most any game we play.
And that's a big part of it. You mentioned Quentin with the couple 3 interceptions. He was still 19 of 30, and I know interceptions going back to high school at Bernie and throughout his college career. When you have a quarterback that has the tendency to throw a lot of interceptions. How do you coach him out of that? Because he didn't have that in his first start, but you saw that in this game against Arlington. Is that just something with film study that hopefully you'll be able to coach out of him?
Well, two of them, bounced off our guys or bounced off one guy's helmet. I mean, so I think it was just a little bit unlucky, more than him not throwing it in the right place or doing the right thing. The defensive back made a really good interception on the one short pass, but the other two, went off our hands or bounced off somebody. So no, it's not a concern for me because he can throw it well. He's not an interception thrower, and like you say, he still hit 19 passes in the ball game.
Wade, that brings up something. Jason and I debate this all the time. When a quarterback throws an interception, how does the coaching staff judge that? And you just said a couple of them, just some crazy bounces and that kind of stuff. When you're watching film and your quarterback obviously throws 3 interceptions, the average fan saying, "Oh man, somebody had a bad day." When you guys are watching film, you take all of that into consideration?
Well, sure, but it's decision making, what decision he makes and where he places the ball. If you place the ball right in the guy's hands and it bounces off his hands and gets intercepted, I don't think you blame that on the quarterback. You say, he needs to throw that same pass again and we need to catch it better. But you evaluate all of it, but it's decision. He's not throwing the ball behind a guy where a guy makes an interception that way. It's not where he's placing the ball. He's placing the ball in a good area. We'll be all right with that. But it's ball placement. It's not really, whether he threw an interception or didn't throw an interception. It's where he's placing the ball. If he's placed in the right places and it bounces off our hands, goes to them, well, we just got to catch the ball better.
And sometimes it's just bad luck. Like, he dealt with a couple of times in the game against Arlington. That said, a lot of interceptions, and we don't know as a fan if the receiver ran the right route. And most quarterbacks are always going to take the blame for that. Quarterbacks give credit to their teammates when they win, and if they lose, it's on the quarterback for making a bad throw. But how often, especially you being a defensive guru, do you see a mistake and it's on the quarterback's record with the interception, but the receiver probably ran the wrong route, and that's what caused the interception?
Well, that's also the case, I see quarterbacks throw it right to the linebacker, hit him right in the chest with it. Now, that's a bad pass. When it's close to being the right placement, I think you can improve on that.
Wade, when you coach a defensive back, though, and obviously you want the defensive back to limit the wide receiver, that's obvious, but are there little keys that you can share with us that a cornerback looks at? Is he always looking at the quarterback's eyes, or does he just follow the wide receiver, or is it a combination of both?
Well, if you're playing man-to-man, you watch a man the whole time. You better not peek at the quarterback because that's when you get beat. But in zone, you're in the area. You read the quarterback's eyes, also his shoulders, how he sets up as to where he's going to throw the ball. So, and then, of course, you got to break. You got to break when the arm comes forward. You got to break. So it's different for man-to-man and zone technique.
Wade Phillips, head coach of the San Antonio Brahmas, joining us here on the Blitz for Wednesdays with Wade. Had the nice win over Arlington this past weekend, 25-15, but staying out on the road, going up to D.C. this week, then Houston before you finally get home to play Arlington again in Week 8. We still want to pack the dome, but a couple weeks away from that. But you look at D.C. and their home environment from what we've seen on television. They look like they have a lot of fun at those games with the beer snake. At what point do you get comfortable enough with the big lead that you're going to have over those guys that you could participate in the beer snake, Coach?
Well, I'm not a beer drinker, but but we have some people on my staff that might jump in there. But no, it is a fun environment. They've really played that up, and their fans do have fun with that, and they have a good crowd. Of course, they were 9-1 last year, so they have 26 guys off that team back. So their record obviously isn't as good, but they still got a good team.
Not only that, Wade, and I'm curious because you guys have the prime slot on Sunday afternoon at 3:00 kickoff on Fox. So, I mean, a prime window there. Do your players pay attention to that, or do you keep them away from that? Because they got to know that, hey, they're the prime time deal on Sunday afternoon.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think, yeah, I mean, anything that motivates the player, if it motivates them, but we make them aware of it. And yeah, they are on national TV, and everybody gets to see them. And we certainly drum that up for them to, play as good as they can play and be excited about playing. Although we're a pretty motivated team anyway overall, so you don't have to say too much to them, but it's always nice to because the players are from all over the country, and they they get to be seen by their parents or friends or whoever. So it's fun for them.
Now, you play in DC again this week, a rematch of a nice win you guys had to open the season, 27-12. What differences do you think you will see in this week's game Sunday, 3:00 versus what you saw in the opener? And does it make a difference that you've already played them one time this year?
Maybe confidence-wise, it helps, but that we won. But they're going to try to correct their mistakes. They're going to try to correct the things that we didn't do well. Every game's its own entity. We know that, but it still comes down to who plays the best, who executes the best. And until this last game, they had never lost a game at home, so they tend to play well at home.
Well, Wade, I've got to ask you, and obviously you never know when you hit the field the what kind of start you're going to get. Obviously, you guys are off to a hot start at 4-1. How much fun has this season thus far been for you?
Oh, it's been great. It's there weren't. I mean, we were picked last in the league going in, so by whoever. But it's been fun with this team. There's a lot of good guys. They work hard, and we've had a lot of success, and that's fun. Mark Littlebridge's done a good job of getting us good players, and our coaches have done a really good job coaching them.
All right, and I know coaches don't tend to like to answer questions like this, but at 4-1, midway point of the season, a team that was picked to finish last, at what point do you guys clinch a playoff spot, and do you start talking about that with your team and with the media?
Well, I think when it comes down to it, you need to win one game to be in the playoffs. I think that's when you talk about it, but we're getting close to that point, so, and this game certainly is a big game, could be a big step toward that, but, we just take them one at a time right now, and, one win at a time and go from there. And yeah, when it gets down to, hey, we need to win this one to be in the playoffs, we're going to certainly emphasize that.
Wade, I know you're not this kind of guy, but just for me, I would love for the fact when you're standing there with the trophy at the end of the year, whoever that guy is that picked you guys to finish last, you just give him a nice big grin and maybe even a one-finger salute.
Yeah, well, I usually just point at the scoreboard, So.
Well, Wade, speaking of birds and one-finger salutes and whatnot, I'm curious your thoughts on the University of Houston apparently deciding that they are going to go with those Columbia blue powder-themed uniforms that look a lot like the old Houston Oilers. Their athletic director said today, and we know they wore them last year, and then the NFL said, hey, you can't do that. They're now saying we're going to move forward with it, that they think that there's enough there where they could win any kind of lawsuit from the NFL. Your thought on the University of Houston saying, you know what, we're going to roll with those uniforms.
I actually Rice and Houston last year, and I thought it was, since I coached with the Oilers, I thought it was a salute to the Oilers, really, that they would show, play play in those old uniforms with the powder blue, and I felt like it was a salute to the Houston Oilers. Now, of course, the Titans own the rights to that uniform, I guess, and yeah, I heard they kind of they weren't happy with it and told them to cease and desist. So I don't know. Yeah, I didn't know Houston was going to do it. I'm University of Houston grad. Whatever they do, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Wait, are you sad that it's gotten to this point? Because it really seems like the Tennessee Titans and the Adams family just kind of, poking the eye of the Houston Texans a little bit when it comes to wearing those Oiler uniforms against the Texans. And I grew up loving the Oilers, and so to me, it's a little bit sad.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up coaching the Oilers for 5 years, so and had some great times there. So, I still like to see the Oilers honored. I mean, they're kind of out there. There's no Oiler team anymore. So when it comes up and to me they're honored, I think it's good. But evidently Tennessee doesn't feel that way.
Yeah, the athletic director there at UH told the Houston Chronicle, quote, "We're doing it. We've reviewed everything and come to the conclusion that we are going to proceed. We're giving them, the NFL, 2 or 3 weeks to respond. We're waiting on a response to see if we get one." But he tells the Houston Chronicle they have a story that they can tell, not a reach, that, they're honoring the city of Houston with those color scheme. Although I do agree with you. I think most of us think Oilers as soon as you see that, not Houston. But the Rockets
Right.
do something similar. And I think, with the Texans coming out with some Columbia blue in their alternative color scheme, that might give the Cougars a leg to stand on.
Yeah, I don't know all that. We'll see what happens. But like I said, I do feel like the ex-Oiler players and coaches that I know feel good when they get to see the old uniforms out.
I think fans do too, Coach. I still enjoy seeing those uniforms, no matter who's wearing them.
Great looking uniform.
Absolutely.
That is for sure. Wade Phillips, head coach of the San Antonio Brahmas. They have a great looking uniform that you could see on TV Sunday, 3:00 as they take on the DC Defenders. Still a couple of weeks before you guys are back in the Dome. Good luck. Go get that 5th win of the season on Sunday, Coach. Appreciate you.
All right. Appreciate you guys.
Good
Great
stuff.
job. Thank you.
Wade Phillips, head coach of the San Antonio Brahmas. Wednesdays with Wade, as Coach Phillips joined us on the Buyers Barricades guest line, where they provide traffic control, rental, and sales for San Antonio and beyond, online at buyersbarricades.com. And never too early to get your tickets for that game coming up for the Brahmas, which will be back in the Dome there. They're at DC this week, then Houston, before Arlington comes to town. Then they got a couple back-to-back, Arlington and Birmingham. DUFL.com.
Birmingham.
Yeah, Birmingham's still undefeated.
They sure are.
They always win.
Yeah.
That's Saturday, May 25th, 2:00 in the Alamo Dome.
Well, it'd be nice if 7-1 by that point in time, I think, and an undefeated Birmingham squad.
If they're still undefeated.
That would be quite the matchup, wouldn't it?
You look at it. Sunday, May 19th at 3, Saturday, May 25th at 2. There's no reason for the Dome not to be packed.
Absolutely.
Pack the Dome
Absolutely.
for those 2 games because, and I guess we'll have to ask at some point how the playoff games work in the UFL.
Yeah.